Good morning. It's Diane's Kitchen. Welcome to another interesting half an hour. This subject that we're on today might be familiar to you. It might be totally something you've never even thought of. But Brittny Olson is my guest today, and she is a wealth of information when it comes to the sad fact of domestic abuse. Lots of things have changed since this virus has taken over, and they're dealing with a lot of things that never used to be like this. But we all are. So welcome to this next couple of minutes. We, again, would like to thank our sponsors, Edina Realty Lakes team. That's Aaron Arf and Katie Folstead are still in business. They haven't taken a day off. They're still buying houses, selling houses, answering questions. If you've got any of them, give them a buzz. Matt's Body Shop Fitness Centers in both Shell Lake and Spooner, alive and well, clean, painted, just waiting the governor's okie dokie. And then, of course, we've got Greenfield's Physical Therapy. If you're having surgery, they are there for you for your post-surgery care until the governor, once again, reopens rehab for sports injuries and other things. So visit them, support them. They're very valuable people. Now, Brittny, good morning.
Good morning.
I have to say right from the onset, I really admire the work that you do. If you work, you talk to nurses, and where's the happiest place? In the maternity ward. Everything is happy, and the nurses just love it. But it's the other wards. It's the cancer wards. It's the cancer for children wards. That's got to be really tough. You picked, for some reason, a career in probably one of the, I don't know if you want to say discouraging people in the world. Why did you pick what you do, and when did you pick it?
Oh gosh.
You didn't think I'd ask that one.
I don't know that this is a career that people aspire to do. But I kind of fell into it in a not really looking for it way. So I went to school for business management, actually, and I started out working for Embrace doing administrative work. And then as I was doing that work, I was exposed to really the ins and outs of a domestic and sexual violence program, the survivors who come in for services, the prevalence of how much it happens. And that's when I really got my passion for this work and then eventually moved up to the program coordinator position and out of the administrative role.
Did it surprise you when you first began that it did look interesting? Did you know that you had that person in you? Because this job can't be done it can be done by anybody, but you approach it with a passion. You do really bring hope to a lot of people, but it must take a toll from you.
And I guess once you find that you have that passion within you, then I think it just kind of, I rolled with it. Like this, I knew this is what I wanted to do. And it's the same for everyone that I work with too. Everyone who works at Embrace really has a passion for this work and really does the work with their whole heart. So
and that's
we have a really great team.
And that's going to be encouraging for people who come to you, who contact you, that, I mean, this is not just a job for you at Embrace. It's truly a hand out, a hand up, and we're here for you, and we'll do everything we can to help you.
Yeah, for sure. And it's everyone who works in each of our 4 counties in outreach offices, as well as our employees who work our overnight shifts. Sometimes they're there for 24 hours at a time, and they are wonderful. Anyone who's called in the middle of the night, in the middle of a crisis, can absolutely attest to the fact that our crisis advocates who are manning those phones in the evenings are just amazing as well.
So you don't have to wait till 8 o'clock the following morning to report something. You can pick up the phone at any time if they need you.
Yep, absolutely. And even if somebody calls one of our outreach office
Mm-hmm.
phone numbers, because we do have our separate phone numbers for each office, if it's during a time that we're out of the office, so after 4 o'clock p.m., then those phone lines automatically just transfer over to our 24-hour line where somebody will pick up 24/7.
That's amazing. So you're in 4 counties. Which counties are they?
Yeah, so our safe shelter is in Rusk County in Ladysmith, and then we have offices in Washburn, Barron, and Price counties.
So this part of northern Wisconsin is under your protection, under your umbrella.
Mhm.
What is the main focus for Embrace? Why are you here? Who do you help?
So we serve anyone who's been affected by domestic or sexual violence. So we serve women, men, children, teens, older adults, anyone. So it doesn't also have to be just the person who has experienced the violence. We also provide services for family members and friends of people that have experienced violence. So we call them secondary victims. So, if your sister is in a domestic violence relationship and you know about it and you've maybe seen some things or your sister talks about it to you, like that, you're not a direct victim of domestic violence, but their trauma is now on you as well. And so that can be hard for people to work through. And how can I help my friend or family member? So we do a lot of phone calls and services with people for that reason. And we also have services for children. So any child who has experienced sexual abuse or physical abuse, as well as children who have witnessed violence between their parents. Because we just know in childhood, that's the most important time of brain development. And so if they're experiencing these things and witnessing these things, we really want to try to get services to them to help build those protective factors back up for them. And so that they don't go on in their lives to continue that cycle of abuse too.
Exactly. So, say I have a sister who is experiencing things that she shouldn't be. I call in. What do you tell me? Because it's not me, it's her, but I'm concerned about her.
So, unfortunately, for a lot of people who call in with that situation, they want us to take the phone number of the sister and call the sister because you're concerned about them. And that's not what we do. We don't reach out to someone unless they have consented to that or they've reached out to us first. So we would explain that to you. And then we would also just try to give you tips and ideas for supporting your sister in the best way. Maybe some tips that you could give her about safety planning or just how you can respond to her in a caring and non-judgmental way too. Because a lot of family members, they'll see their family member going through these times and they get frustrated. Like, why don't they just leave? Why are they putting up with this? And so just talking to that person about compassionate ways and empathetic ways that you can try to help your sister through that situation is a lot of times the advice that we give to people with calls like that.
I would think that would be very valuable in the fact that so often, if it is a family member and you care about them, then you take it upon yourself, like, I'm going to help you and you got to do this and you've got to do this. But what you tell me then, if I call you, you say, okay, you might want to back off on this, maybe approach it like that, maybe help them do whatever, but a more effective approach to reaching a family member.
Exactly. Yep.
One of the things that I have always admired from Embrace, and that is the information in the bathrooms. It's about the program, and there's a tear-off telephone number So in the privacy of the bathroom, men's rooms and women's rooms, you can tear that off and have that number available. You also said that it used to be a big stop sign and it stopped sexual abuse with the numbers. You said that the signs have changed. They have questions on them?
Yeah. So, if you guys have ever seen our posters in the bathrooms, it's really more now about assessing for yourself if your relationship is healthy or not.
Okay.
And so we have on the poster a bunch of questions about what a healthy relationship does and doesn't look like. And so then you can kind of go through those questions and answer them for yourselves while you're in the bathroom. And then if you're saying yes to a lot of these unhealthy relationship questions, then you can just take that little tear off. And it's just a little, piece of paper that you can easily fold up and stick in your pocket or your shoe or somewhere that has our 24/7 number on it that you can reach out for help.
So when someone takes this number and they call you, and what is the phone call usually like the first time they call you? Are they scared? Are they worried about the consequences? You're not going to arrest them, are you? What do you expect from people? You pick up the phone and you go embrace or whatever. What kind of calls do you get first time?
Honestly, we never know what we're going to get when we pick up the phone
I bet.
because people are in such different situations. And so it really just depends on that person's situation, where they're at in their relationship right now. If they're recognizing that it's an unhealthy relationship and wanting to leave, or if they're just wanting some general information on what we do. Sometimes they're in complete crisis in the middle of an abusive situation going on and wanting to some advice about what they can do. All of our services are 100% confidential. And so if people do call us, we're not going to call the police for them. We're not going to have their abuser arrested. That power is in their hands. And so we will give them options and tell them possible outcomes of all of those options, and then let them make those decisions for themselves. Because they really know their situation and the severity of their situation better than we do.
And in itself, doesn't that empower them to know that they've got options now?
Absolutely.
Maybe some they never even thought of, but now they've got a whole team, a whole network on their side.
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes, people will think, well, my only option is to call the cops. And then what if he doesn't get arrested, or what if he does? And so just going through all of the different things that are possible for that person is helpful for them.
Sure, because to me, call the cops, that would be it. I wouldn't know any different. But with Embrace, it's totally different. And I would imagine that a lot of things that you do not involve the cops at all.
Yeah, a lot of our services, a lot of the people that come in for services don't ever have any communication with law enforcement. A lot of them do, though. So a lot of the referrals that we get and people coming into our office are because the law enforcement officer was very kind to them and gave them our information and encouraged them to reach out to us. And so we get people coming in from a lot of different places. And it's the same with like our Health and Human Services departments are really great about people that they're working with and referring them to us, giving them information about us. And so it's just everyone's situation is so different. And so sometimes law enforcement and getting involved with the criminal justice system is a really good option for people.
Sure.
And sometimes it's not. And so we just go about different routes with people.
Because you network.
And
Absolutely. And you know who can best serve these people. When you work with people, originally I would imagine it's a telephone call. They call you.
Mhm.
Do you do one-to-one? Do you do teleconferencing, especially in this new age that we're living in? How do you follow up? What's the next step after the initial phone call?
Yeah, so usually in non-coronavirus times, when we're on the phone, we would schedule an in-person appointment with that individual, whether that be at our office or at a different public location. If they're not comfortable coming to our office,
Oh,
we can meet with people at public libraries, coffee shops, whatever is comfortable for them.
sure.
Um, However, right now, in
Yeah.
this weird time we're all living, Embrace is 100% still working, still providing services. However, we're doing a lot of our services via telephone and video communication. So we have been able to work out ways for all of our services to be able to happen over the telephone or by video messages. And most of the people we work with do have at least have a phone. A lot of them have smartphones, so they're able to video chat with us or talk on the phone. We're also doing a lot of text messaging. So a lot of people that we were working with who are maybe still in those abusive relationships maybe can't talk on the phone with us or video chat with us because they're stuck in the house with their abuser.
Right.
And so text messaging is a huge one, as well as email. Email is one that abusers sometimes don't check as often as text messages and calls. So we're getting really creative with the ways that we're providing services to people, but we're really doing our best to continue providing all of the services that are available.
That is great to know, because has the coronavirus affected your business? It seems like it's affected everybody in some way. Has it affected the domestic abuse genre?
Yeah, so we're still getting around the same amount of calls as we were before the coronavirus started. However, the severity of the abuse that we're hearing about from victims is going up. So we're hearing about more strangulations. We're hearing about more of like substantial battery, like injuries to the victim than before. And so while the amount of incidents isn't increasing right now, the severity of those incidents is increasing. And we're also just anticipating a spike in people calling once the stay-at-home orders are done, just because people are going to be able to get out more and get away from their abusers and that sort of thing.
So do you think this is, on the abuser's side, simply frustration? I have no job, we can't pay the rent, and they take it out on whoever they want, and it's always out same person.
I mean, some of it might be that, but with the more substantial like injuries and the severity of the violence, I don't think those situations are like ones where it's the first time that the abuse has happened and it's gotten that bad. I think it's just that the abusers have more control over their victims right now because the victim can't go to work, they can't go to school,
Right.
they don't have other places to go to get away from their abuser, or they can't see their family members or friends. And maybe that was the one thing that before all of this happened they were able to go do and get away from their abuser a little bit. And so now it's a really unfortunately a nice time for abusers right now because they have so much control over their victims.
And isn't that what abuse is about? Control?
Yes, it's all about power and control.
If you could answer the next question, I would imagine that you could solve a lot of the world's problems. What makes an abused person either stay in that situation or go back to, full well knowing what they're going back to? Why do they what is this bondage that they've got to either stay or return time after time?
I think the biggest one that we hear about is their kids.
Ah,
And so if you have children with your abuser, um, sometimes the abuser might be even including the children in the abuse or using them for control and power. And so a lot of people stay because they their thought is, if I'm here in the house, I can at least try to have some control over what's going on with my kids. I can help protect them. But if I leave and then I have to send my kids back for their mandatory weekend visits with their dad,
ooh,
I don't know what's going on. I can't protect my kids if I'm not there. And so that's a huge, huge reason that people stay in those relationships. Another one is because of all the power and control that has been going on for so long, that victim might not have friends or family members that they can turn to for help. They might not have a job because their abuser didn't allow them to have a job.
right.
So they have no money, no car, no friends or family members to turn to for help. And so there's really so many reasons that people stay in those relationships and just try to endure it, maybe until their kids are old enough that they don't have to worry about it anymore, or until that they can make a plan to maybe save some money or get a close relationship with someone so that they have someone to go to when they decide to leave.
That is
Um,
just so sad to be locked into an impossible situation and to go through this on a daily basis, never getting any better, or maybe looking like it's going to get better, and then the walls fall down and they're back to where they started. It must be a terrible, terrible life for that poor person who is being abused or who has children in the abusive situation. I mean, they must live with fear all the time.
Mhm. Yeah, and if they are able to and ready to reach out to embrace,
Hmm.
we do provide a lot of services that can help navigate those challenges that I just talked about
Like,
too. Because
like what?
um, so we work really closely with the Legal Assistance for Victims program through Indian Head Community Action Agency. So their program has a grant that is able to provide attorneys to victims for free. So those attorneys can help with divorce and child custody, so that the victim doesn't have to navigate that system themselves
Good.
because it's very hard.
Yeah.
We also have some funds available to help people get back on their feet. So maybe helping to pay for a security deposit or a first month's rent for someone who's just getting into their own place right now.
Hmm.
We also, right now, one of the bigger expenses that we are incurring because of the coronavirus are hotel stays for people, because we've been advised to not have somebody come directly from their home or their community right into our shelter because of the virus
Ah,
right now. We're having people, we're paying for their hotel room to stay in a hotel for a few days to make sure they're symptom free,
right.
and they haven't been exposed and then come to shelter. And so that's just one of the extra expenses that's going on right now for Embrace with this whole virus going on.
The restaurants are hurting, bleeding, and local businesses that can't be open are also experiencing financial disasters. Whoever thinks of Embrace, whoever thinks that how your business of being there for people who desperately need your help would be in need of funds. Last
Mhm.
week or week before, maybe it was last week, Chris Fitzgerald and Ben did a fundraiser
Yes.
for you to help
Yeah.
out with hotels and all these other things that normally you do not have to tap into. Did you
Mhm.
raise more than $1.80?
Yeah, we did. Our GoFundMe page is still active too, and I can paste that in the comments when we're done if anyone wants to look at that. But I think we're at about $1,600
Oh,
from
good.
that in that GoFundMe page, and I know there were a couple of people too who were gonna mail checks
Hmm.
or drop money off at the office just because they didn't want to use the online way. So yeah, that was super helpful for us. And we're very grateful that Ben and Sheriff Fitzgerald were able to do that fundraiser for us last week. So we're super grateful for that.
Yes, and I was very grateful that you let me know that there is a mail slot in the Spooner
Yeah.
office that goes right into the office. So if anybody wants to donate, the office is on Front Street, and what would that be? Cedar? No, the tree before this tree. Spooner has two sections. One is all trees, walnut, maple, and the other one is the Great Lakes. So at least you know where you are partially. But Spooner's office is on Front Street and one of the trees. And you can just drop off a check. Just walk in the office. No one will be there. But just walk in the hallway, open a little mail slot, put your money in because they still would appreciate it. Under the GoFundMe page, what are you under?
Oh gosh, I think it's God, what is it called?
Uh-huh.
It's like COVID-19 funds for victims of violence or something like that.
Okay,
But I can definitely paste the link into the comments on this video when we're all done too. And then
good.
people can just click on that if they want to.
Good. Because there are people with disposable income that don't have to worry about a job. Maybe they're retired. Maybe this is their second home. Maybe. But there are people here who are not hurting through this COVID. There's a lot of people who are bleeding money and worry that when this is over, they won't have a business to return to. But there are lots of people that have some disposable income, and we just encourage you, if you're looking for some place to give that, Embrace is doing amazing things for people who have gotten themselves into situations for whatever reason, and they are desperate for help. And Embrace has been helping them for years and years. Any last comments, Brittny? We're gonna have to go. What would you like to finish
I
with?
just wanted to mention one more thing that since we're not able to do our Yoga in the Park series this year for obvious reasons, we are offering a virtual yoga through Om Sweet Om, who usually does the in-person park series.
Right.
So, and it's completely free for anyone who wants to join. It's going to be a virtual yoga, and all you have to do is go to Om Sweet Om website, and they have a link that you can register, and then she'll send you a Zoom link. And so
Okay.
that's sponsored by Embrace through our grant funds that we got to facilitate those yoga sessions. So we just still wanted to be able to offer that yoga, healing yoga for people.
Good
But
idea.
different way.
Now,
So
how does she spell Om? OHM?
it's OM
OM,
and
sweet OM.
yep.
Okay.
Exactly. And it starts, it's going to be 4 Tuesdays. So May 12th through June 2nd, Tuesday evenings at 5 o'clock.
Oh,
So, but
okay.
all of that information is on the webpage too.
Absolutely excellent. You've got a web page. You've got a uh, everything people need. If they just
Yes.
Google Embrace.
Yep. Yep. So you can Google us. We're our website. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat.
Excellent.
Yeah, we just want to be able to have a way for people to reach out in any way they need to. So you can find us on all of those platforms.
Or on bathroom walls,
Yes.
which is just genius in my estimation. Thanks, Brittny. You have cleared up a lot of questions that people might have had. You've probably talked about things people didn't even, I mean, you know it goes on. But, you know, when you don't know anybody, you don't realize how serious this is and how many people are hurting and scared. And they've got an advocate with Embrace. So if you've got some extra money, you know where to send it. And thanks, Brittny, very much.
Thank you.
And we'll see everybody next week with more interesting guests. So until then, this is Diane's Kitchen. Keep it cooking.
Thanks, Brittany.
Thank you.
Now we're going to figure out how to ban Chris Fitzgerald.